We are backstage right now with AbilityMKE Now starting soon. We have a wonderful guest joining us tonight, and we are about a half a minute away from starting live on River West Radio. So you can always tune in there, riverwestradio.com. There's a listen live button on there, and AbilityMKE Now will be starting momentarily. Got about 20 seconds to go here. 10 seconds, standing by. Welcome to AbilityMKE Now. My name is Sue Roskoff. Here at AbilityMKE Now, we are a show all about integration, bringing people with disabilities and people that don't have a disability together, enjoying life here in the Milwaukee area. We all have different abilities, and here at AbilityMKE Now, we dive into this topic of diverse abilities. The concept of disability has a wide range of possibilities. We could be talking about physical or mental disabilities, the deaf and hard of hearing community, blindness, chronic pain, mental health diagnosis, goals of substance use reduction, and the list goes on. We all have our own experience with disability, whether it's our own, with people we know, or with people we encounter in our daily lives. Here at AbilityMKE Now, we break down the barriers and celebrate the ability in all of us. I am so happy to be having a wonderful guest joining us this evening. Derek Baker is a dynamic entrepreneur and sales expert with over a decade of experience in enterprise sales development, marketing, and web design. As the co-founder and VP of entities such as Alvasoft and Flowgoat, Derek has been instrumental in revolutionizing AI-powered solutions for WordPress websites, helping businesses enhance customer interactions and drive revenue. In addition to his role at Flowgoat, Derek was also a leading advisor at Thinkster Math, a leader in AI-driven math tutoring for students from kindergarten through 8th grade. His work at Thinkster further solidified his expertise in leveraging technology to improve educational outcomes and customer engagement in the modern era. So Derek, come on in and join me. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic tonight. Thank you for having me on the cast here.
So glad that you could
Pleasure.
join us. So tell us a little bit more about what you all do with the company.
Sure. So Alvasoft, both Alvasoft and Flowgoat are businesses that I work with my father on, along with some other team members. Alvasoft is coming up on 10 years old. It does software and web design for primarily the small business market. I've also worked with a lot of nonprofits and uh, others across a wide variety of different verticals, especially like construction businesses, for example, they always have a lot of complicated processes, so they're a lot of fun to work with on new projects. So that's where I cut my teeth on a lot of that stuff. Flowgoat is a newer venture. It's only about 2 years old. I actually moved out here to Eastern Tennessee and became part of ETSU's Innovation Lab Accelerator program to develop AI solutions. That's part of what we're doing with Flowgoat. And what we're trying to do with Flowgoat is bring artificial intelligence, the power of it, to the small business at the lowest possible cost so that they can implement it into their business and their websites, make it easier for their customers to be served by them, provide the type of support that normally only big companies can provide. And hopefully, it's a way for us to democratize this whole process and level the playing field a little bit for everybody.
Excellent. So I know AI has become just a center point with a lot of different things in industry, and with websites and whatnot. What got you started on the AI end of things, and how are you seeing that playing a role?
My interest in AI started probably a little over 6 years ago. At the time, I was working on some software projects with my dad, and we came up with the concept of trying to bring artificial intelligence, or at least the idea of it, into the real estate industry. So we actually built a chatbot several years before OpenAI built theirs, and ours was a functioning AI, but it cost over $300 a month to run and needed 28 different backend services to function. But it could do things like uh, answer questions about real estate properties, show you different listings, do all kinds of really cool automated stuff right there on the website when you're chatting with it there. It was way more sophisticated than any chatbot I've ever seen in the market. And that was over 5 years ago when we did that, but it was too expensive to run and we didn't have a viable path to the market. So we kind of shelved that for a while and got involved in some other things. And then we came up with FlowGoat and sort of went full circle because OpenAI, uh, I mean, they have burned billions of dollars to bring AI into a wider use, like you mentioned, with people making it more accessible. And they're paying a big, hefty price to do that. Uh, I read to just today that they don't think they're going to be profitable till 2029 when
Oh,
they're making
wow.
over 200 billion a year or some sort of number that their team came up with. Sam Altman and all those guys, they're always doing press announcements and talking about stuff, but it looks like it's going to be a while before they're making real money. So they're bearing that cost to develop this technology kind of for everybody else. So the opportunity for us is to come in and sort of piggyback off that and take it further in some ways and try to bring it in a more cost-effective way down to everybody and build upon that into something that's more useful for all kinds of consumers, for the businesses that want to serve their customers, providing better customer support 24/7, 365. Um, if you've ever gone to a website and you tried to try to get a hold of a live person or talk with somebody in one of those older chatbots and you had to sit there and wait like 10 minutes before somebody came on, and then maybe they'll help you, maybe answer your question, maybe help you with whatever your problem is. I mean, it's not excusable today. So we're trying to solve that problem and give even the smallest one horse business the ability to give their customers an enterprise level of support, have something that can answer questions as good as they can, even sell for them, guide people towards a specific outcome, and also provide better support.
It is amazing. I know I've been on customers' website chats before. Even honestly, it was just earlier this week I was on one and I knew it was AI technology. You can kind of tell that with how it's structured that that's what it is, but it was wonderful. The experience was fantastic. I got done what I needed to do. I learned what I needed to learn, and it was fast, it was efficient. It worked really well.
Oh yeah. But the biggest fear that a lot of businesses have is that it's too expensive to use that kind of technology with their current site. So what we're doing is we're releasing our FlowGoat chat plugin this month for the first time to like WordPress customers so they can just install it very quickly on their site. It's the first native chatbot for WordPress. So if you have a WordPress site and you want to get started for as close to free as possible without being charged a subscription, and all you're doing is putting in like $5 to your OpenAI API account, you can run all of your business's support for like less than $5 over a 6 month period with our technology. And then if somebody wanted to have access to higher levels of feature and functionality besides that chat stuff, then that's where our paid add-ons and stuff come in. But the core technology is about as close to free as we can make it for people. We want to put the bar as low as possible so that people can easily get started, start having it help their customers, help their businesses, and hopefully provide better outcomes and make a difference. Use this technology for good for yourself and your customers.
Excellent. Well, and I know we talk a lot about disability here, and
Mhm.
I'm picturing all sorts of ways that AI technology can make a difference for
Mhm.
people with I mean, you name the disability. There's all sorts of ways where it can be a life enhancement, improvement, being able to have that kind of technology available. What kinds of things have you seen or do you envision where that may go?
Well, for example, I think that artificial intelligence in general, even though we're not anywhere near what they call AGI or super intelligence or any of that kind of stuff, people talk a lot about the whole Skynet, Terminator thing and all these fear mongering and things like that. But honestly, I think artificial intelligence is going to solve a lot of the problems that people can't, especially being able to serve those with disabilities and having different kinds of issues that other people just take for granted. So, for example, you know, you could have, whenever you go to your talk to your doctor or something and you're going through, that portal, instead of talking to somebody every time and having 50 different people review your history and looking at the different issues you have and things, you could have AI with you, like as a tool or something that's monitoring your condition all the time and feeding a lot of real-time data to your provider, that kind of stuff. And so whenever they talk with you and they're trying to help you with something, they're always up to date with exactly what's going on to essentially the minute. There's no discrepancies. They didn't have to talk to 50 other people or guess at things. AI will come back and give people's doctors, the people and others much better information so that their doctors and those people can help them better with whatever their condition is or issue. And I think that the tools that people have access to, like monitors or other kinds of physical devices they may need, are going to get smarter and better because of AI being integrated into them. The power of AI is that AI can learn, and AI is kind of like an idiot savant. So it doesn't know a whole lot of, so it knows everything under the sun about the one or two things it's trained on in an ideal world. But if you try to ask it about, who's the prettiest guy or prettiest guy or girl or whatever, about this or that, or tell me about, dating or something, it's going to be like, huh? And it doesn't know. And that's kind of where you want AI to be. You want it to be as good as it can be about very, very narrow, specific things, and you want it to know nothing else about stuff that's not relevant. So as long as you can keep AI doing that and narrow its focus depending on what it's being used for, it can be a massive asset to uh, the individual and to humanity as a whole.
Interesting. Yeah, so I've played with AI just a little bit with trying to get it to create pictures and done some of that type of thing. And some things I've been really successful with, and others not so much. And I think part of it actually does relate to what you're saying, because I'm a water skier. I do show skiing, and that is something that AI does not have any idea, at least the ones that I've have been playing with, they don't know what water skiing looks like. They can't draw me that picture. And I'm thinking it's probably exactly like what you're saying, that it hasn't encountered that with whichever, I don't even remember what program I was working with, but that maybe it hasn't seen that, so it hasn't been trained in that, perhaps.
What all AI is right now is it's simply pattern matching. It's not really thinking about whatever it is you ask it. It's guessing and looking ahead of time. If you're typing in a question to it or asking it to do something, it's predicting what the next set of letters you're going to give it are. It's trying to complete your sentence before you actually give it and then match whatever it's given based on whatever data it's trained on. The reason that you're getting an outcome back like a beautiful picture or a really complicated, series of text layouts or answers or things that just kind of boggle your mind, like how did it come up with this? Is it has been trained on so much data that it's creating the illusion that it's actually thinking about something or trying to create an outcome. So that's not super intelligence. That's just a much higher level of pattern matching and all of that stuff than what people are normally capable of because it's doing it at a much faster rate than you and I can do that. So that's kind of the miracle, if you want to call it that, of what it's doing right now. And that just that one thing is very helpful because it can plow through um, it could plow through 100 years worth of book material in a fraction of the time that you and I could. So that's what scientists and some other people are starting to use it for. They're coming up with the bases for new medicines and things much faster than they could before because of the existence of this technology.
It's amazing. I am excited to see where this all goes because it really it's shortening that learning curve, like, like you're saying, for me to dive through and research a particular topic would take a long time. But if you can feed that into the AI to be able to do that type of thing and pull out the key concepts and pull, to be able to actually narrow things down like that, oh my gosh, what a
Yeah.
tool that is.
Yeah, at some point, I was talking about this with my dad at one point, but when you look at the history of humanity and the history of people, we're not very good at course correcting when we're making the wrong decisions or doing bad things and things of that nature. We're, assuming nothing changes, we may just end up blowing ourselves up sometime in the next few hundred years or few thousand years. So if we want to avoid that outcome, we're going to need a little bit of help. And it's not aliens or somebody else that's going to save us. It's artificial intelligence that might help course correct us to something a little better because at some point, AI is probably going to be better at making decisions than we are about certain things. So we'll be able to do things faster and solve problems faster so we don't destroy ourselves. So that would be nice.
What got you started in all of this? Where did your interest and passion come from in this?
When I was, I mean, I've always really, ever since I was a kid, I've always loved like video games and science fiction and comics and things. I was always very interested in the types of narratives and the universes that other stories being told out there about what the future would be like if we had flying cars and this and that. And I love video games because of how immersive they could be. They could take me to a different world, just like reading a good book. I always loved books. I always loved video games, comics, anything that could pull me out of my body for 20 or 30 minutes to go do something else, and then I could come back to it. I used to be, when I was a kid, I used to be, for instance, love all those Pokemon games and stuff like that. Because even though the technology is fairly rudimentary, even something like that can pull you in for a little bit and immerse you, and then you're back out. And I always thought that was very interesting. So when I got into school, out of high school into college, I went to school to get and got into things like digital media, video production, what they call mass communications in general. And that kind of strengthened my understanding of business, how business and journalism and all those and communication all intersected with emerging technology. And then when I got out, I worked for the insurance industry for 2 years, which kind of helped me develop sales skills. And then from there, I went back to my dad, and he was doing some new things in enterprise development. He had just gotten off of his stint working for the Zale Corporation. He was the guy who architected Zales.com, the website.
Oh,
He
wow.
was an enterprise software consultant, one of the best in the United States for about almost 20 years. There's very few people with as much experience in e-commerce and um, enterprise development across multiple languages that he has. He's amazingly disciplined, and he's a completely self-taught programmer. And so he was very inspiring to me when I got out of university. So teamed up with him, started working with other people. And now 10 plus years later, I'm on the cutting edge of artificial intelligence. So it's funny where things take you. I used to dream about living in a more sci-fi world, and now I'm there, or at least the very beginnings of it. Hopefully it's one of those good sci-fi timelines and not one of the bad ones though. So
Agreed. That, oh my gosh, I love it. That is so much fun to be able to see where, you started out having the general interest, enjoying the sci-fi type things. And I love how you describe that, where you'd have something where it would just take you outside of yourself for a while, and then you can come back. And that is something I think uh, helps us all in so many ways, just to be able to have something to grab onto like that. That is that with
You
what
can,
we do with the doing the show skiing, I feel like that's
yeah.
kind of I can forget about everything else and just focus on this for a little while, and
The
it's beautiful.
People forget though that people have been talking about how artificial intelligence might work, and people have been predicting this kind of stuff for decades. I mean, if you go back to the 1980s, there was a really great book written, Neuromancer, which was kind of like a noir kind of mystery, sort of a cyberpunk novel, one of the first in the early 80s, and it was all about artificial intelligences run amok. But they were not completely amok, but there was like a murder mystery and some other stuff involved. But cyberpunk has been around as a fictional genre for a very long time, and it's typically all about, the emergence of AI into the real world. So when I look at that, I'm thinking, well, we can have a much more positive outlook on it than a lot of these writers and stuff did. But it's all very interesting food for thought because it's funny how the things that people imagined, decades ago, you can see echoes of their ideas in things that are happening today. It's just very interesting though how all that's unfolded.
I remember way back, the TV shows where there would be people talking to something on their wrist, and at the time it was like, what the heck is it? This is never going to be, but oh my gosh, is it ever? How many people don't have some kind of gadget on their wrist now that and their our phones? I can't
These things
even.
are both terrifying and terrible, and at the same time, they are a little bit of a miracle because there's more computing power in one of these things right now than there was in all of the computers they had that took people to the moon back in 1969. Think about that.
It is stunning. Yeah, a phone these days that how many tools are in there? How much value when we lose it, if you
If
lose your
anything, we
phone,
have
you
too
lose,
many
it's
tools.
like you lose a
If any,
limb.
Yeah, it's just even the average person now has more computing power in their pocket than all of the top people in government had decades ago. And that's, something that people forget a little bit about. If anything, we all have more options and more power than we think, and it's a little overwhelming at times, probably. And the stuff with AI is moving so fast that even somebody like me who's immersed in that world and always learning and in the process of launching an actual product to the market based around this technology, it's a lot to keep up with. So I think I can't imagine how somebody who knows absolutely nothing about this stuff must feel when they look at the news or they try to see something online about it or try it out. I can't imagine how they feel about it necessarily because it's probably pretty overwhelming. So the world's changing faster than it used to.
And I know you had done something with math tutoring with kids too that was AI related. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. So one of the things, so amidst all the website development and other things I was doing, I was approached by a company called Thinkster Math through one of my connections who had a product that they had already brought to market, which was they have some of the best tutors in the United States, all teaching and you know helping kids virtually. They kind of really took off during the pandemic when everybody was forced to stay home. And so families would go to them and use them as a supplement to make up for the lack of tutoring and teaching that was going on in the schools because the schools were closed down or there was irregular hours and a lot of problems. And so kids were falling off. And Thinkster was stepping into the market to tell parents, hey, we have a solution. We can get them back on track with their math. If they fell off during the pandemic, we can help them. Here are our price points. And what they were doing was they were putting some of the best tutors in front of these kids virtually through their program, but they also had all of these back-end AI technology for kids to go into the platform and get quizzes and go through a whole process and have some virtual instruction on top of the person, the actual tutor being involved. The tutor was using AI provided by the company to accelerate their ability to help the child get data back in real time on quizzes they were taking. the AI could see things and learn things about how the kids were solving problems that the tutor sometimes wouldn't notice. So it was really interesting technology, a good combination of the human element and the impersonal artificial intelligence element kind of working together in tandem to create a better outcome for the child. And so so I was talking with parents and I was more on the sales side of that. I was showing them the benefits, letting them try it out, kind of guiding them through that process. And I learned a lot about both software as a service, which is the model that Thinkster have. You know, they get you on a plan and then you're paying monthly or you pay once a year and it's a recurring thing. But I learned a lot about how they used AI and how it could help people and help those that had a specific need and how they were applying it. And I also learned about how you grow a software as a sales business, which is what the Flogo stuff we're doing now is. We're having a freemium model that people can jump onto. And then if they want better analytics or they want it to sell for them or book appointments or things like that, well, that's what you would, pay for, as an additional add-on. But the goal is, I realized AI can be wonderful. It can be used for good or evil, just like any tool. So it all depends on what you want to do with it and what your goals are for it. And Thinkster were using it for good, and I found it very inspiring and educational. So I was with them for a few years. I did some good work. We made some good money. And then I just cycled back to doing my stuff full time, and I've been doing it ever since.
Excellent. Well, and I want to make sure to get a chance here to say if people are interested in learning more about what you're all doing, what's the best place to go online to find you and to find what you're doing?
Sure. There's two sites. If you're interested in learning more about just web design and software and all that stuff, that side of kind of what I do, there's alvisoft.com, ALVISSOFT.com. And if you're interested in artificial intelligence and what we're kind of doing on that side for businesses, that is flowgoat.com. So that's FLOWGOAT.com.
Excellent. So
Yeah,
I know we've just got a couple minutes left here, but I'm kind of curious,
time flies
where
by.
do you see things going into the future? Because if you had your magic ball in front of you and where AI is all going to end up, um, if you think a ways out there, what do you see as some of the big things that could be coming our way as big?
Robotics, home-based robotics will become affordable and probably powered by some future version of the AI that we're seeing now. So something you'll have basically, if you have physical labor needs, think about the movie Bicentennial Man with Robin Williams. That's really where I see things going in a nutshell. Most households, middle class, um, and above, and maybe even, lower income households will have access to dirt cheap AI, robotics. So physical labor related stuff that people, just pull their hair out about, or, all of that's going to change dramatically because of the intersection of AI and robotics technology. And we're probably less than 10 years away from that right now, maybe even five, depending on when they decide to, who gets it to market fastest, that's affordable to the average household. So I see stuff like that. I see AI being integrated with um, like uh, stuff in the medical field, like they'll have like nanobots that they'll probably put into your body that can scan and blast cancer cells, give them back a lot of real-time data. There's a um, there's a lot of different stuff out there where I believe AI is going to be integrated more closely with the real world to solve real world problems faster. And so it could lead us to a much more prosperous time than anything we've known in America, at least since the 1950s or early 60s. So that's where I see things potentially going. And hopefully it'll be cheaper too to live.
Excellent. Well, this has been such a fun conversation here. I've learned a lot. Oh, so Derek Baker, thank you so much for joining us. Again, more information can be found at flowgoat.com and with Alvisoft.
Mhm.
This is Ability MKE Now. We have truly enjoyed getting some insights here, as always.